Throughout human history, one question has driven more innovation than any other. How do we kill more efficiently? From sharpened stone to splitting the atom, every era of human civilization has produced a weapon that redefined what destruction meant. Weapons that ended wars, weapons that ended empires, weapons that changed what it meant to be human. These are not just tools of war, they are mirrors. Every weapon on this list reflects exactly who we were as a species at the moment we created it. We are counting down the 7 deadliest weapons in all of human history, ranked by total lives taken, civilizations destroyed, and the permanent mark they left on the world. By number 1, you will understand why some weapons should never have been created. Number 7. The sword. For over 3,000 years, the sword was the defining weapon of human conflict. From the bronze blades of ancient Mesopotamia, to the steel longswords of medieval Europe, to the katanas of feudal Japan, no weapon dominated human warfare longer or more completely. The sword is responsible for an almost incalculable number of deaths across recorded history. Every major civilization built its military around it. Every empire expanded using it. The Roman legions, the Mongol hordes, the armies of medieval Europe, all of them fundamentally sword-based killing machines. What made the sword uniquely deadly was not just its design, it was its intimacy. To kill with a sword, you had to be close enough to see the person you were killing, close enough to feel the resistance. This required a specific psychological conditioning that militaries spent enormous resources developing, turning ordinary humans into people capable of killing at arm's length without hesitation. The psychological machinery built to produce sword fighters, discipline, dehumanization of the enemy, absolute obedience to command, became the template for every military force that followed. The sword did not just kill bodies, it built the systems that all future weapons would operate through. Number 6. Greek fire. In 672, the Byzantine Empire deployed a weapon that its enemies described in terms that sounded more like supernatural horror than military technology. Greek fire was an incendiary liquid weapon that burned on contact with water, not despite water, because of water. It could not be extinguished by smothering or dousing. Ships attempting to flee by sailing into open water found the fire intensifying rather than dying. It burned on the surface of the sea. The Byzantine Navy used it through pressurized bronze siphons mounted on warships, projecting streams of burning liquid across the water. Enemy fleets were set ablaze from a distance with no counter available. In the naval battles of 672 and 718, Arab fleets attempting to besiege Constantinople were almost entirely destroyed. Greek fire saved the Byzantine Empire at least twice from complete conquest. The exact formula for Greek fire was a state secret, so carefully guarded that it was lost entirely when the Byzantine Empire fell in 1453. Historians and chemists have spent centuries attempting to reconstruct it. The leading hypothesis involves quicklime, naphtha, and possibly calcium phosphate, but nobody has ever produced a substance that fully replicates what historical sources describe. A weapon so powerful and so secret that an entire empire took its formula to its grave. Number 5. The Maxim gun. In 1884, a British-American inventor named Hiram Maxim demonstrated a new type of weapon to the British military. It used the recoil energy from each fired round to automatically eject the spent cartridge and load the next one. It could fire 600 rounds per minute continuously for as long as it was fed ammunition. It was the first fully automatic machine gun in history. The British military immediately recognized what they had. Within a decade, the Maxim gun and its derivatives had been deployed across the British Empire in colonial conflicts across Africa and Asia. At the Battle of Omdurman in Sudan in 1898, a British force of approximately 8,000 soldiers equipped with Maxim guns faced a modest army of approximately 52,000 warriors. The battle lasted 5 hours. Approximately 10,000 modest soldiers died. British forces lost 47 men. The Maxim gun made traditional courage completely irrelevant in warfare. It did not matter how brave you were, how skilled, how motivated, or how many soldiers you had. An adequately supplied machine gun position could kill faster than any human force could advance. The full horror of what this meant became clear at the Battle of the Somme in 1916 during World War I. On the first day of the battle, British forces advanced across open ground into German Maxim gun positions. 57,000 British soldiers were killed or wounded in a single day. It remains the bloodiest single day in British military history. The machine gun did not just change how wars were fought, it made the old idea of military heroism permanently obsolete. Number 4. Biological weapons. This entry is different from every other on the list because it did not begin as a deliberate weapon. The Black Death, caused by the bacterium Yersinia pestis, arrived in Europe in 1347, carried by fleas on rats aboard Genoese trading ships returning from the Black Sea. Over the following 5 years, it killed between 75 million and 200 million people across Eurasia. Approximately 1/3 to 1/2 of Europe's entire population died. But what elevates this to a weapon is what happened at Kaffa in 1346, the year before the plague reached Europe. A Mongol army besieging the Genoese trading port of Kaffa on the Black Sea began dying of plague in enormous numbers. The Mongol commanders made a decision. They loaded their plague dead onto catapults and launched the corpses over the walls of Kaffa into the city. It is one of the first documented uses of biological warfare in history. The infected Genoese defenders eventually fled by sea, carrying the plague with them to Constantinople, Sicily, and Genoa. Within months, it had spread across Europe. Whether the catapulted corpses at Kaffa were the direct cause of the European Black Death, or simply one of many introduction events, remains debated, but the intention was clear. A military commander in 1346 understood that disease could be weaponized and used it deliberately. 600 years later, multiple nations developed advanced biological weapons programs. During the 20th century, the Soviet Union's biopreparat program employed at its peak approximately 60,000 scientists working on weaponized anthrax, smallpox, and plague. It continued operating in secret for years after the Soviet Union signed the Biological Weapons Convention, prohibiting exactly that research. From a Mongol catapult to a Soviet laboratory, the weapon evolved. The intention never changed. Number 3. The atomic bomb. On the 16th of July, 1945, in the New Mexico desert, the United States detonated the first nuclear weapon in history. The lead physicist on the project, J. Robert Oppenheimer, watching the explosion, recalled a line from Hindu scripture, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." 3 weeks later, on the 6th of August, 1945, a uranium bomb nicknamed Little Boy was dropped on the Japanese city of Hiroshima. The explosion killed approximately 80,000 people instantly. Tens of thousands more died from radiation exposure in the following months. The final death toll from Hiroshima is estimated at between 90,000 and 166,000 people. 3 days later, a plutonium bomb nicknamed Fat Man was dropped on Nagasaki. Between 60,000 and 80,000 people died. Japan surrendered 6 days after Nagasaki, but the weapon's true significance is not the death toll. It is the permanent psychological transformation it produced. Before Hiroshima, war was something nations did. Terrible, costly, devastating, but survivable as a civilization. After Hiroshima, the scale of potential destruction changed so completely that the entire logic of international conflict had to be rebuilt from scratch. The concept of mutually assured destruction, the understanding that a nuclear exchange between major powers would destroy both sides completely, has shaped every major geopolitical decision made since 1945. Every war not fought, every negotiation conducted, every alliance formed. The atomic bomb did not just destroy 2 cities, it permanently altered the calculation of every government on Earth, and continues to do so today. Number 2. Nuclear weapons. The arsenal. 1 bomb destroyed a city, 2 bombs ended a world war. But the weapon that earns number 2 on this list is not a single bomb. It is what the atomic bomb became. At the peak of the Cold War in the 1980s, the United States and Soviet Union together possessed approximately 65,000 nuclear warheads, not 65,000 times the destructive power of Hiroshima. Each individual warhead in the modern arsenal is between 8 and 1,000 times more powerful than the Hiroshima bomb. The total destructive capacity of the Cold War nuclear arsenal was sufficient to kill every human being on Earth multiple times over. Strategists called this overkill. They calculated it precisely. The answer was somewhere between 3 and 12 times total human extinction, depending on the delivery method. In 1983, a Soviet early warning satellite system malfunctioned and reported 5 incoming American nuclear missiles. The officer on duty, Lieutenant Colonel Stanislav Petrov, was required by protocol to immediately report the alert up the chain of command, triggering a Soviet retaliatory launch. He decided it was a false alarm based on instinct and the fact that a real first strike would involve hundreds of missiles, not 5. He was right. It was a satellite malfunction caused by sunlight reflecting off clouds in an unusual way. One man's judgment call in a windowless room in Moscow in 1983 may have prevented nuclear war. That is how close the combined nuclear arsenal came to being used. There are currently approximately 12,500 nuclear warheads in existence. 9 countries possess them. The systems designed to prevent their use are operated by human beings capable of making mistakes. The weapon exists. It has never gone away. And every day it does not fire is the result of systems, protocols, and occasionally individual judgment holding a line that, if crossed once, cannot be uncrossed. Number 1. Famine. As a weapon, every weapon on this list was engineered, designed, and built by specific people with specific intentions. Number 1 was not engineered. It was deployed and it killed more human beings than every other weapon source on this list combined. Throughout human history, the deliberate creation of famine has been used as a military and political weapon more consistently and more lethally than any technology ever invented. The strategy is simple. Control food, control people. Eliminate food, eliminate people. The siege of Leningrad during World War II lasted 872 days. The German military encircled the city and deliberately prevented food from reaching its population. Approximately 1 million civilians died of starvation. Survivors described eating wallpaper paste, leather belts, and sawdust. The city did not surrender. During the Holodomor in Ukraine, between 1932 and 1933, Soviet policies deliberately confiscated grain from Ukrainian farmers during a period of crop failure, exporting food while the local population starved. An estimated 3.5 to 7.5 million Ukrainians died. The Soviet government denied for decades that it had happened. There was the Great Chinese Famine we discussed earlier. In the Bengal Famine of 1943, British wartime policies contributed to the death of an estimated 2 to 3 million Indians while grain continued to be exported from the region. In Ethiopia in the 1980s, food aid was deliberately blocked from rebel-held regions. The United Nations currently estimates that hunger and famine kill approximately 9 million people every year. That is more than malaria, tuberculosis, and AIDS combined. A significant portion of those deaths are the result of deliberate political decisions such as sanctions, blockades, and policy choices rather than pure agricultural failure. Famine as a weapon does not require a factory, a laboratory, or a physicist. It requires control and the willingness to use that control against human beings who need food to survive. It has been used in every century of recorded history. It is being used right now. And that is why it is the deadliest weapon ever deployed in the history of our species. Not because of what it was built to do, but because it was never stopped. So there they are. 7 weapons that between them have shaped, redirected, and ended more human lives than any other force in recorded history. But here is the thing the list makes unavoidable. Every single weapon on it was created by human beings, designed, deployed, and aimed by people who believed they had a reason. The sword required courage to use. Greek fire required genius to invent. The machine gun required industry to produce. The atomic bomb required the greatest concentration of scientific talent ever assembled. And famine required nothing except the decision to let people die. We did not inherit these weapons from nature. We built them, every single one. If this changed how you see human history, subscribe to World Ranked. Next week we are counting down the 7 most powerful empires ever to exist, and the single decision that destroyed each one. You will not see number 1 coming.